overturn the hard, dry ground. Spare no strength nor toil. Even though I weep, in the loose, fresh, mangled earth, sow new seed, free of withered vine and weed. Bring fair flowers to birth.
So this week I took a drive and I looked at a bunch of fields, and it was in the middle of the week, and in the middle of the week the weather was much different than it was yesterday and today, thank goodness. But remember the monsoons and the rain and the cold of the winter, and so I was driving and I was looking at these fields and I thought, man, there is nothing more lonely than a winter field. Looking at these fields so soggy and barren, and some of them, the dirt all clumped together, almost like somebody had combed through these long hairs. And I thought, really, is it really possible that spring will come? It's hard to sometimes imagine, really out of this, out of these fields, is spring, a new life going to come? And here today we hear that faith is a metaphor. The field is a metaphor for faith. It's a pretty good one, I think. The winter field, the stuff that's dry or cold or soggy, the heartache in us. Will new life ever come out of that? The gospel that Robert just read, it's a pretty difficult gospel. And it brings me right back to ethics class with Jesus saying, "You have heard it said in those ancient times, but I say to you." You have heard it said, and I say to you. And again, we get this. The commandments that we have been given, if we need to latch on to something about the meaning of them, is love God, love your neighbor. That these two things are not against one another. The command of Jesus is not any better than the law of Moses. Rather, this is a completion, this decision, this obedience to love. It's a deep observance Jesus is reminding and telling his disciples. He's saying, you need to be all in. And this decision of faith, it's a decision, it's a choice. This choice, when you make it, that love needs to be the binoculars in which you see. It needs to be the hermeneutic, the ethic in which you live. And love does not hate, it does not judge, and it does not get distracted by lesser things. You have heard it said in ancient times, and I'm going to say it again to you. I need your complete obedience in this. Especially in a divided time, a wintry time, when it's maybe easy to put one agenda over the next, to think something is better than the other, more righteous. I say to you, whether you have been divorced, whether you've experienced lust, whether you have voted for Trump, voted for Clinton, whether you are the seed, whether you are the soil, we are all looking for the same harvest. And we need to be together on this. This assisting God and one another in overturning the rough, hard, cold places, the cynical, the fearful, the vengeful, the hard stuff in us, so that God can get to work to letting the nutrients sink in and preparing us for the root and the bulb to blossom. We can't be divided over less important things. The Sermon on the Mount, which is what part of what you heard, and you're going to hear more if you keep on coming. The commandments, it's about living the commandments. The commandments that of old, the commandments of today, they are about tending the soil of our lives. And Jesus is saying today, we have to turn it over and over. It's not necessarily a feeling, although feelings do happen, but it's a decision and it's hard work. It's complete, unseparated obedience, love to God and thus one another. It is no simple thing. It is vulnerable. And honestly, if you're listening to the gospel, Jesus is not playing around. It's time to decide to love, to be faithful. I've been doing a lot of tilling, plowing, cutting through my time and my energy. I've been working a lot lately. I've been listening to many different people taking grand offense at what is happening in our political discourse. I have held people's pain. I've been attending community organizing events regarding sanctuary and how this is a movement now. I have literally held lower school students here who are terrified that their grandparent can't come to visit any longer, or what was going to happen to their aunt, and that their future does not look like they had originally thought it would. I personally have received very harsh criticisms just directed to me about things that I haven't done or things that I am doing because I am a clergy person. I have met with staff of the Refugee Care Collective so that I can learn what can I really do for my neighbors. And I must admit to you that all this work and this time and energy, sometimes I don't want to do it. And sometimes I want to focus focus on the liturgy of the church, and and put my attention toward it being perfect, so that we all sit at the same time and then stand and then kneel, and that there's no hiccups. I don't mispronounce anything, that it's all just kind of perfect without any unfortunate pauses. And then I listen to the scripture, and I study it, and I realize that church, and yes, the work of the people, which is the definition of church, when it is easy for me, then I'm not doing it right. I know that. And I know when it's all pretty and neatly all together in my life, the work of people, when there's no glitches, when it requires no sweat of me, and if it requires no tears, if I'm not overturning that hard stuff, if I'm not working hard into that barren, dry aspects of my life, then I and we aren't doing church right. And when we dig, and when we work, and when we plow, we prepare, and we give, remember also scripture says, then we don't need to worry. Because like the lilies and the flowers of the field, we are made to do this. This is our calling. Become the people that you are. Stirring it up. This true commitment to God and to one another, to ourselves. This is who we are made to be, and who we are made to be together. We are in this together. Don't forget that too. I don't forget that. It's not me doing it all. It's us doing it all. The work before us is an all thing too. This venture together. Do you know that all of you here that there's no way that you know every single person here, every single person in the nursery, every single person in the choir, every single person in the back row pew, or in our church school classrooms down there. And it could be really great if we spent some time, if each one of us decided to spend some time, turning to somebody else and saying to you, Kevin, I commit to being in the field with you. I commit to it. Or to somebody, Brenda, I'm in it with you, through the life and the death. I'm in it. Or, I'm going to go to the funeral this Saturday. I'll be there and help usher new life in Richard. That, Darlene, I'm going to call you and say, I'll make a casserole for the 2 people who are having surgery this week. Or I'm going to pray for these people on our prayer list. I can do that. I'm going to commit to this. Stirring it up. That is the very testimony that created the Jesus movement, right? And that's how we today also know that we aren't playing around with this church thing or with this faith thing. So the botanist in my family would remind me that a field in the winter is not just hanging out, but in that field, good work is being done. It's preparing itself. It's allowing the nutrients to come in. It is tending to the cold parts and warming it up. It is doing a lot of work. And we know that too. That work, though, must be done for the field to reap a harvest in the spring. The decision to love is now. And it's a good thing to talk about for Valentine's Day. It's a decision. There's a feeling, but it's a decision. So the decision to commit, the decision to love, it's vulnerable and it's transforming. And I'm so grateful for this faith. It makes me a better person. It makes us better people. And it allows God to help us till, to become free of the withered vine and weed. So I'm committed, and I am committed to love each one of you with hospitality, one day at a time.